Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to The Blink Conversations of Life, Love, and Gratitude. I'm your host, Tanisha Campbell, Community Relations Coordinator at Gift of Life Michigan, MOTEP, the Minority Organ Tissue Transplant Education Program. And we understand that life can happen in the blink of an eye. Here at Gift of Life Michigan, MOTEP, we want to share the stories of those impacted in the blink. This series will feature donor families, recipients, volunteers, and advocates. The Blink is designed to bring you stories of individuals and families that have been impacted by organ and tissue donation. If you would like to be a guest on The Blink, just send me an email at tcampbell@golm.org or visit Volunteer Hub. That is TCAMPBELL@golm.org or visit Volunteer Hub. Today we have a great guest. We have Dr. Michael Collier, who had a life-saving heart transplant 10 years ago. Dr. Collier is here to share his story and his love of nephrology and photography. Welcome, Dr. Collier. We are happy to have you here at The Blink today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And hello to everybody out there in the transplant community.
So we are going to hop right into it. I know we had a few conversations behind the scene, but your story is exciting, and I want to make sure that we are able to get it in and share it with all of our viewers today. So we are going to hop right in with our questions, okay?
Go ahead.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about who you are and some of your life experience, what your interests are, who are your closest family members, some of the most memorable moments in your life. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Wow, that's a lot right there. Let me just say, I guess, a few words about myself. I was born and raised in the city of Detroit. I lived there for 23 years. I'm one of 7 children. I'm the oldest. I have 6 brothers and 1 sister. My one brother still lives 3 houses down from the house that I was born and raised in. Okay. I went to high school, graduated from college, and went into medical school, became a nephrologist. And that's been my life and career up until 1998, when suddenly I found out that I had congestive heart failure and a cardiomyopathy, and my life totally changed at that point in time. Right. And it was for me, it was incomprehensible that this was happening to myself. I knew about heart failure, and I knew the prognosis in that once somebody had developed heart failure, but I never dreamed it would happen to me. I'd smoked heavily in the past. I'd quit smoking. I jogged on a regular basis. And before I got sick, I had recently taken a hiking trip in the Grand Canyon and was doing well. And then suddenly began to develop shortness of breath and unable to do as much as I used to be able to do, thinking it was just a viral infection or something like that would go away. I had a chronic cough. So one day at work, I walked up a flight of stairs, and when I got to the top of the stairs, I was standing there very short of breath. It was hard to breathe and talk to anyone at the same time. So I got a chest x-ray done. I went down and had a chest x-ray thinking I might have pneumonia. And the chest x-ray showed that I was in heart failure with a very large heart. I had fluid in my lungs.
Oh, wow.
So the very next day, I scheduled myself for a cardiac echo, and where they do ultrasound of the heart. And while I was getting the cardiac echo, one of the cardiologists that I knew came into the room and, "Hi, Mike," and then he says, "Oh my," and I said, "What do you mean, oh my?" And then he looks at my EKG and he says, "Oh my." And I was immediately hospitalized. And 2 days later, they did a heart catheterization. I had multiple narrowings of the blood vessels to my heart. My ejection fraction was very, very low, and I was transferred to another hospital for possible emergency transplantation. While I was in the hospital, my symptoms improved dramatically with, water pills to get rid of the fluid in my lungs and heart medications. They found a clot in my heart, and so I had to go on a blood thinner. And after a couple of weeks in the hospital where they were getting me ready for transplantation, I improved to the point that they thought I didn't really need a transplant at that time, and they wanted to get as much mileage out of the heart that I had until later when it deteriorated further. So I was discharged from the hospital, feeling much, much better, and I was following up on an outpatient basis, but I was not receiving good news from the doctors in terms of my prognosis and that. And I was still in denial. I said, this couldn't happen to me, and how could this happen? These are the things that people, I think, go through that have bad things happen to themselves, the different stages of grief.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to stop hearing the bad news was to stop going to the doctor I was going to. So I did that for a period of time and treated myself with varying doses of the heart medicines and that. And subsequently, I was at home and I could feel my heart racing. And I told my wife that I need to be in the emergency room. And she took me to the emergency room, and I rested 2 times in the emergency room. I remember that very well. And they put me into the hospital then. They put a defibrillator in me to shock my heart should any of these arrhythmias occur again, and a pacemaker. And I was discharged from the hospital, and my daughter-in-law, who's a physician at the University of Michigan, said, "You've got to get back to seeing a heart doctor."
Mm-hmm.
So she made arrangements for me to be seen up at the University of Michigan, which I followed up with. And they continued treating me up there and changing my medications. And then they put 2 pacemakers in to make my ventricles contract together in synchrony, so that to increase my cardiac output. But my condition continued to deteriorate. They recommended putting a pump in, but I kept saying, "Let's wait another month. Let's wait another month." Then I ended up in the hospital in heart failure on all these medicines to increase the contractility of my heart. And while I was on these medicines, my kidneys began to shut down, and my blood pressure was dropping low, and the fluid was just building up in my lung. And they told me that without a pump, I probably wouldn't survive another 72 hours. So they took me early in the morning to put a balloon pump in, and then they put a heart pump in me. And I was in the hospital for about 6 weeks during that period of time, and went home from the hospital, and I felt much better. And over a period of 3 months, I think I felt even better. So at the end of 3 months, I could walk about 2 miles slowly, but I could do that. And prior to the pump being put in, I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. At home, I'd walk up a few steps, stop, catch my breath, walk up a couple more steps, catch my breath. Now I could do that quite easily. And so after a year with the pump, I was 65 years of age, and I thought, well, because of my age, I'll probably just end up keeping the pump for the rest of my life and die with this pump. And I was on the transplant list at that time, but I just figured because of my age that if a heart became available, it should, I thought, go to somebody younger than myself, because I've lived 65 years. And then one day, totally unexpected, because I had resolved now that I was just going to stay on a pump for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I got a call at 1:30 in the morning saying that they had a heart for me, and I went into the hospital. I was there by 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I was transplanted that day with the heart of a 23-year-old male that was involved in a car accident and suffered irreversible brain damage.
Wow.
And since then, my life has turned around completely. I mean, After I went home from the hospital, I was no longer on blood thinners. I was no longer on drugs for arrhythmias. I was no longer on digitalis, blood. I mean, all these different medications that I had for heart failure. But I was on a lot of medicines, to prevent
Mhm.
rejection of the heart, and have done well ever since. I mean, to me, it's an absolute miracle. I just can't. It was totally incomprehensible to me back in 1998 that I would even be here today, let alone be as physically active as I am right now, and
Mhm.
and alive, just basically alive. And so I look at it as, I've had the gift of life of being born into time and space here, then getting another gift of life, a heart, it's given me another chance. And the heart, it's a moving organism. It's a moving part of the person who gave it to you. And you can feel it every day. You can feel it when you take your pulse. And it's just something I think about each day, and each day is a true blessing. I look at it that way, and it's a true gift. And I've been fortunate enough to meet and become friends with the mother and dad of the individual whose heart I have. His name is Joey, and when I talk to the family, I always talk. When I talk to them about my heart, I always say it's Joey. And
Mhm.
Joey and I are going to do this, and Joey and I are doing that, and Joey's doing well, and so it's been just an incredible experience. I never thought that I would be able to experience these things. My son and daughter were not married when I first developed my heart disease, and since then my sons got married. My daughter got married after I had a heart transplant, and I was able to stand up, walk her down the aisle. My son has had 4 boys. My daughter has had 2 girls and a boy. So I'm a grandfather with 7 grandchildren. And the experience of that, being a grandfather, I thought I'd miss out on this. I didn't think I would ever really be around to see my son and daughter get married. And it's just been absolutely something I don't know what to say. It's incredible. But I don't. Should I stop here, or do
No,
you
you
want to
don't have
continue?
to. I was going to ask you, um, with that being said, how did your family react to the news that you needed a heart transplant?
They were incredibly supportive. I mean, my sister and her husband came and visited me from Virginia. Everybody was very supportive. I had one of my brothers spent the night in the hospital. My daughter would sleep in the hospital with me. My wife was there, and they were incredibly supportive of me. And my friends, the same thing, called me up, and they were just very, very supportive.
It's always great to have a great support team.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, no matter what's going on, it's always great to have a good support team. But when you're faced with life and death situations, it's always amazing to have people that stick by your side, because so often people are so quick to leave your side. Um, and I want to go back a little bit because I hear you speaking as a patient, even though you have a medical background.
Mhm.
Uh, and sometimes when you have a medical background and you're speaking to patients, I don't think we often feel, or as a patient, we don't often feel that the doctor understands what we are saying at times.
I
How did
think
that relate to you when you were the patient instead of the physician?
Well, I think what you say is true, and I look retrospectively back when I was practicing medicine, and that how I tended to look at patients as diseases. Somebody would mention a name, and what disease did they have? And I looked at them more as a disease to be corrected uh, than as a human being, an individual. And then when I became sick and became a patient, I'm on the other side of the fence now. My whole perspective was changed. I'm saying, hey, they're looking at me as a as a disease now, and not as a patient. and then I'm looking, and then I'm looking at myself as a patient, and I'm not acting as a doctor at all anymore.
Mhm.
The doctor's saying do this, do that, and I'd be saying, if I was talking to myself, you need to do this or that, but then would not do this or that. And
Yeah.
that was part of the denial, I think, of having a serious disease. You know, this can't be happening. You know.
Mhm. So, I understand that you have a love of photography. Tell us how a little bit of how that love of photography started.
Oh, gee, I my well, my wife in college took up photography, but I never got involved in it at all until the digital age. And then I got a digital camera, and I started to get interested in taking pictures. And then I've been taking pictures for quite some time, and I've gotten it. It's nature to me has been something. Well, I've always looked at, particularly after I got out of the hospital. I looked at nature as, this is something that we didn't do, we didn't make. And it's just all beautiful. And so I've been doing primarily pictures of scenery and things like that. And I started sending them out to individuals, and I have a group of people that I send photos out to on a regular basis. And so I carry my camera around and see something and take a picture, uh, and then a lot of times I'll write something down that below my picture when I send it out. I send them out as emails and little musings that I put in there. And this is a picture of a bear that I took out from the front window of our house. And I've been coming up north in northern Michigan, oh my gosh, since the late 60s, and I'd never seen a bear until this instance when the bear walked right in front of our house. So I
Oh
shot
wow.
this picture through the window, and this was maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago, and we've seen bear every year since then.
Oh, have you? How
And
close to the house did he get?
he came within about 3 feet of the house, and then got to our bird feeder and tore our bird feeder right down. It was a
Oh,
3/4 inch steel bar, and he just bent it
oh
and tore it
wow.
right down, and took off with the seed in
Oh,
the bird seeders and that. But so that's was taken. That's it's an eagle. There's a lot of eagles up here, and I had never seen an eagle in my life. And this one just was flying around, so I just got my camera out and took a picture of this eagle was flying by up there.
it's an
That's Lake
awesome.
Michigan in the background.
You said that's Lake Michigan in the background.
That's Lake Michigan. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We have and this is taken out in the front from my front yard. That's Lake Michigan to the right on the far side, and that's Glen Lake down right below, right in the middle of the picture. And we live on a hill called Miller Hill. And so this is a picture during the summer. I thought, no, this would be during the fall because the trees are turning a little bit red and yellow in the trees there. So this was in the
Mhm.
fall, probably a year or two ago. And uh, and this was taken just a month or so ago during the moon at nighttime setting, and with the reflection on the lake. And that's one of the things that you can see up here in nature that it's difficult to see down in the city because of the houses and everything, where you've got this horizon of Lake Michigan and off in the distance, and so you get these sunsets and moonsets that are just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and this photo is it the same as the one that we just saw before?
It's the same lake. That's Glen Lake, and it's
Okay.
looking across the lake with the moon. This was taken around, I think 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. I
Okay.
got up and I said, "Oh, it's pretty bright out." Looked out at the lake and saw the reflection. I jumped up and got my camera, went out and took this picture.
Oh wow. Okay. I believe that's the last photo that we have for sharing right now.
Okay.
I believe so. I'll double check. But I believe that's the last photo that we have for sharing right now. Um, I do want to hop back in with some more questions, just
Sure.
because I think your story is amazing, especially how you are have the medical background, but you are a patient. Um, and then I wanted to stop in and just hop in because we were talking about your family, and if you could say something to the family members that were so supportive of you, what would you say to them?
The family members that were supportive of other individuals that are
No, of
family
you.
members.
Those family members that were your support system.
So I would be addressing my family members, or
Yes.
oh, okay. Oh, it's the love that you feel from
Hmm.
family members. You may not even realize it until you get sick, and you see it, and you see it in their actions. My brother is sleeping on a gurney all during the night. My daughter watching me all night long to see if I was having any changes in that.
Hmm.
And you tend not to appreciate what they've done until they do it, and
Hmm.
it's an act of pure love that they give out to you. And I've been so fortunate to have a family that thinks of me in that way, and I think of them in that way too. I think now, and so I think it's a really good thing to have a family. Family is really important, I think, to me.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And you talking about your grandchildren and being able to
Oh,
see your
yeah,
grandchildren,
yeah.
who spoils them the most?
Oh, I don't know. We took care of my daughter's two of her children, the 6 and an 8-year-old girls, up here where we are right now for about 2 weeks while my daughter was at a conference in Europe, and I mean they would. We told them you can't get up before 7 o'clock, and my wife and I get up usually around 5 or 5:30, and then we have a system where you can hear what they're saying, an alert
Hmm.
system type thing, and so at about quarter to 7, there you can hear them start talking and say, "Oh, it's not 7 yet," and then every morning they're down at 7 o'clock, and from 7 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock. It was just constant with those two children. I mean,
Hmm.
they could occupy your whole life at that. I'm thinking, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
my daughter, what she has to deal with. She's got a baby too now,
Oh.
So she's got a baby and these two other children, and she homeschools, and that's an incredible job. It's a more difficult job, I think, than a job where you go to work 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 even. It's a 24-hour a day type job. But it was just wonderful. In spite of being exhausting, just totally exhausting, it was fun. Grandpa, you do this. Grandpa, you do that.
Hmm. I can imagine. Um, After your transplant took place, when did you know it had really taken place? When did you know that joy was beating inside of your chest?
Well, the day I woke up, you go into surgery, and your thoughts are, oh, am I going to make it through this surgery? Am I going to come out on the other side?
Hmm.
Those were my thoughts. And then they woke me up, and my whole family was there, surrounding the bed. My son was videotaping me waking up, and it was just an incredible, joyous experience. I made it through the surgery and that, and they said everything went fine. There were no problems during surgery, and so I was elated. The family was elated, tears and happiness. And then the next morning, waking up the next morning, by myself in my room, and I'm looking at the monitor, watching my heart beating in a regular fashion, which it had never done for a long time, years. And and then I started thinking, whose heart do I have? Who is this person? It's beating. I can feel it. But who is the person that gave this to me? What was
Hmm.
his or her life? what was it? What was it? Whether it was the situation that resulted in their unforeseen death that they became an organ donor. And I had these questions, and I thought, well, what are they doing today? And this was, the 2 days after I was transplanted. I was thinking, oh my gosh, they're at a funeral, or they've just had a funeral, and there's all this grief and despair, and here I am, and the recipient of this incredible gift that one person could give to another individual, and it makes you feel. I think you had mentioned this in our prior conversation about the guilt.
Survivor's remorse.
Yeah, and I thought, oh my gosh, I felt, this. What happened? Do I deserve this? Am I worthy of this heart? These are the questions that go through your mind. And then as I've gotten to know the parents, and they've given me a life history of Joey, and that, I realize, so I still today now, at 23 years of age when he died, he was a good person. He was a good person. He was probably a better person at 23 than I was. And me, why am I here? And he not, type thing.
Yeah.
And I think about that. It's just it's I just, I don't know what to say. I just think about that on a regular basis.
If you could say anything to Joey, what would you say to Joey?
Joy, you're not here with us, but someday may we meet face to face and experience, be together, because I feel you with me now. And when I'm doing things, I always think, here's Joy with me, but someday may we meet face to face. That's what I think about. That's what I would tell him. Joy,
Awesome.
it's coming.
And I know you've met Joey's parents. What would you say to Joey's parents? What do you all talk about? How do you express your gratitude to them? What words have you said to them?
I've expressed my gratitude in that they were active participants in this process. I mean, Joey, when he was in the car accident, was in the hospital. He was not a donor. He did not have the little heart on his license plate, and the gift of life went in to talk to the family. And the family, from what I gather, was a little reluctant from talking to the parents, to donate his organs and separate parts of his body before burial and that. But then they thought about what Joey would have wanted, and they said, Joey, he was a giving individual, and he would have wanted to give his heart, lungs, kidney, liver to individuals, and that's what they did. And they talked to the gift of life, and then gave permission to allow Joey to be that donor. And so, I look at it, and we talk, about death, dying, and in this world of contingency, everybody has a tendency to think, why did this happen, and why this, and things like that. And this type of a gift is how do you say it? It's the donor's family. I'd like to have them, I think, or look at it like this way, that it is the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate gift that an individual can give to another individual, and to think of the benefit that it can give. It can cause another person to live on. I would certainly not be here without the transplant that I had. I mean, if I stayed on the pump, I would have died of complications long before now. And I'm doing well, and I'm 10 years, past 10 years, almost 11 into my transplant, and this morning I'm out cutting wood, and splitting it with a maul. And
Hmm.
I'm saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing that I can do this, and it would never have. This is the joy that I tried to share with them, that their son has given to me, and it's the joy that other family members can have, or take, to have some solace in,
Yeah.
if they donate an organ to someone that can
So go ahead.
just donate an organ to someone that can prolong their life and give them a new life, because the
Mhm.
life I've had since transplant is really a new life. It's a different life.
Yeah.
And your whole perspective really changes in terms of living in that, and you tend to take not take things for granted, like my normal tendency had been throughout most of my life. Yeah, let's do this. You say,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm here now. I don't deserve to be here, and it's really a gift. And I've been given that gift 2 times now, uh,
Yeah.
and once at birth and once with Joy's new heart.
Hmm.
I think of it that way.
So I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your story with us today. Um, what message would you like to close out today's episode of The Blink with?
Oh well, I think what you're doing, Tanisha, is good. I think it's important to get the message out to people that we all live and we all will die. Sometimes in this fallen world that we die unexpectedly, but your life can live on in another individual. It can prolong their life, and who knows what good things can come out of that. And so I would encourage everyone to, when they renew their driver's license at the Secretary of State, they will they will ask you about, if you're not a donor, to consider that. And I would highly recommend that, and I'm going to encourage it. And it's been just an incredible experience for me, and I just feel so fortunate, and uh, other people can have the same experience, and um, I wish people would just do the right thing there.
Well, well, thank you for joining us today. I am going to go ahead and close out the blink. Um, but at any time, if you would like to come back on and share more of your story with us, if you would like to have some of your family members join us, um, just let me know, because I think your story and your family story is amazing. Um, and we need to get more stories out like this, to just bring awareness to organ and tissue donation. So thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, and God bless. Thank God.
Thank you.
Have a good day,
You too. One
and bye.
second. So thank you all for joining us today on The Blink. And thank you, Dr. Collier, for sharing your story with us today. If at any time you would like to share your story or be a participant on The Blink, email me at tcampbell@golm.org, or visit us on Volunteer Hub. As always, remember to sign up on the Organ Donor Registry at golm.org and have the conversation with your family. Until next time, thank you for joining The Blink.